Ever feel like that little voice inside your head is maybe more of a critic than a cheerleader?
Yeah, I think a lot of us do.
You're definitely not alone. Today, we're taking a deep dive into something really fundamental, something that shapes how we think, feel, act
Mhm.
every single day: self-esteem.
That's right. And our focus today is, well, pretty sharp. Practical strategies for building healthy self-esteem. We're drawing heavily from the insights in the guide, Self-Sensei.
Exactly. Self-Sensei. It's a really useful resource, actually. It's structured pretty cleverly, I think. First, it helps you get a solid understanding of, your inner resources,
Yay!
and then it helps you pinpoint exactly where you're starting from right now.
Which is so crucial for you, the listener. You want to get this quickly right, get the important stuff, and walk away with real-world tools you can actually use without getting totally bogged down.
Couldn't have said it better.
Yeah.
So our mission, our goal today is to unpack what healthy self-esteem really means, why it's just so important in your life, and give you concrete evidence-backed strategies, things you can literally start using today. Okay, so let's get right into it. What exactly is self-esteem?
Well, simply put, it's your overall sense of personal worth, like how much you value yourself, how much you approve of yourself.
Okay.
Psychologist Morris Rosenberg, he described it pretty well as your attitude toward yourself, positive or negative.
Okay, so it's that kind of gut feeling of, I'm okay, I'm good enough, something like that.
Exactly.
Now, Self-Sensei does a great job pointing out that self-esteem isn't quite the same as a few other things we hear thrown around. Let's maybe start with self-esteem versus self-concept.
Yeah, that's a really key distinction. Your self-concept is more about how you see yourself.
How you see yourself.
Right. Your beliefs about your qualities, your skills, your character. It's kind of answering the question, who am I? I'm a creative person, or I see myself as a reliable friend.
Right.
Self-esteem, though, that's how you feel about yourself based on that self-concept. It's more like asking, what is my worth? Or how much do I actually like this person I see?
Okay.
So think of it like this. Your concept is the description, the list.
The list, yeah.
And your esteem is the verdict, the judgment on that list. Carl Rogers, the humanistic psychologist, he talked about congruence.
Congruent.
Yeah, when your self-image, how you see yourself, lines up pretty well with who you ideally want to be. When those match up, that's really fertile ground for good self-esteem.
Got it. So self-concept is the mental inventory, and self-esteem is your emotional reaction to it. What about self-esteem versus self-acceptance? They sound pretty close.
They do, they really do. But the key difference is judgment. Self-esteem often involves evaluating yourself.
Like grading yourself.
Kind of, yeah. Deciding if you're good enough based on maybe what you've done or how you stack up against others.
Yeah.
And that can make it a bit shaky, dependent on external winds.
Right, fragile.
Exactly. Self-acceptance, though, that's more about embracing yourself just as you are. Strengths, weaknesses, the whole package, without needing to judge or compare.
No grading involved.
Right. It's recognizing that, human value isn't something you can just measure on a simple good-bad scale. Self-esteem can feel like that personal performance review.
Yeah.
While self-acceptance is more fundamental, it's like you're okay just as you are right now.
That makes a lot of sense. So self-esteem can be conditional, but self-acceptance is unconditional.
Okay, now what about self-esteem and self-worth? I hear those used almost interchangeably all the time.
You do, and they are related for sure, but not quite identical. Self-esteem often gets tied to what you do, what you achieve.
Your successes.
Yeah, success is external approval. That makes it feel a bit like an earned value. Self-worth is deeper. It's that fundamental intrinsic sense that you have value simply because you exist, because you're human.
Regardless of achievements. Regardless of what you do or don't do, it's feeling you deserve love and respect just for being here. So, self-esteem is often earned, you could say, while self-worth is just inherent. Dr. Christina Hibbert put it nicely. She said, self-esteem is what we think and feel about ourselves, but self-worth is recognizing, I am greater than all of those things.
Wow, that really hits home. That inherent value, not just the scoreboarding accomplishments.
Yeah.
Okay, how does self-esteem connect with confidence or self-efficacy?
Right. So self-confidence is more specific. It's your belief in your ability to handle certain tasks or situations. It's more about, I can
do this specific thing.
Exactly. And self-efficacy, which comes from Albert Bandura's work, is similar. It's your belief in your power to succeed in particular situations. Self-esteem is broader. It's that overarching sense of I am
worthy, or I am good.
Kind of, yeah. Now, succeeding at things, that can definitely give your self-esteem a boost, no question. But really building strong, lasting self-esteem, That usually means tackling those core beliefs about your fundamental worthiness, not just, stacking up achievements or skills.
So nailing a presentation makes you feel more confident about public speaking,
Right.
but it might not fix that deeper feeling of maybe not being good enough overall.
Exactly. Confidence is often task-specific, while self-esteem is more global, more about your whole self.
Okay. And finally, let's just quickly touch on self-esteem versus arrogance, because sometimes, it can be tricky to tell.
It can. Healthy self-esteem and confidence, they come from a place of genuine self-acceptance, a realistic view of yourself, and also respect for others.
Right.
Arrogance, though, that often masks deep insecurity. It's like an inflated sense of superiority, maybe a constant need for praise, sometimes a tendency to put others down to feel better.
So it's not really too much self-esteem.
Not usually, no. It's often more about trying to cover up a lack of real, solid self-worth. It's a defense mechanism, really.
It's fascinating, actually, just how nuanced this whole idea of how we see ourselves really is. Okay, so we've got a clearer picture of what self-esteem is and isn't. Why is it so important? Why should we focus on cultivating it?
Oh, it's crucial for so many reasons. Let's start with mental health. Healthy self-esteem is like bedrock for overall well-being.
Foundational.
Absolutely. And the flip side, low self-esteem is a major risk factor for things like depression, anxiety, eating disorders, even substance abuse. Think about cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT.
Yeah, the thoughts, feelings, connection.
Right, those negative self-beliefs can really fuel those kinds of difficulties. But high self-esteem, it acts like a buffer. It helps you weather emotional storms. So it's not just about feeling good, it's actually protective for your mental state.
So a key ingredient for a healthy mind.
Mm.
How does it impact the bigger picture?
Yeah.
Our lives overall?
It has a huge impact on life outcomes. Huge.
Yeah.
Self-esteem influences your decisions, your motivation levels, your success in school or work, even just your general satisfaction with life. Well, when you have a positive view of yourself, you're just more likely to believe in your potential, right? You're more willing to take on challenges, approach life with a bit more optimism, more confidence. It reminds me of Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Like the pyramid.
Yeah. Feeling good about yourself, that esteem level, it's a key step towards reaching your full potential, what he called self-actualization. So it really is a building block for a fulfilling life.
That makes total sense. Okay, what about our connections, how we relate to other people?
Your level of self-esteem directly impacts your relationships. Massively. When you have healthy self-esteem, you're more likely to form positive connections, ones based on mutual respect, clear communication, healthy boundaries.
Because you respect yourself first.
Exactly. When you value yourself, you tend to naturally treat others with respect too. But low self-esteem, that can make it really hard to express your needs or maybe even to walk away from unhealthy situations.
What is
Because you might feel deep down like you don't deserve better. There's a really strong link between how you feel about yourself and the quality of the relationships you find yourself in.
Wow. So if you don't value yourself, it's hard to expect others to, or even to see when you're not being treated well. Okay, and lastly, Self-Sensei mentions resilience. How does self-esteem play into bouncing back from tough times?
High self-esteem acts almost like an emotional shield against stress and setbacks.
Shield, okay.
Yeah, when you have that strong sense of self-worth, you're just better equipped to cope with challenges, to learn from mistakes without being crushed by them, and to recover from adversity. Low self-esteem makes you much more vulnerable when life throws you curveballs.
So investing in your self-esteem is kind of like building up your mental and emotional toughness ahead of time.
That's a great way to put it. It's proactive.
Okay, so healthy self-esteem is clearly vital, really important. Now, how do we get a sense of where we are on this spectrum? What are some signs? Signs of healthy versus maybe low self-esteem that we can look for in ourselves?
Yeah, Self-Sensei gives some really helpful clues here. People with generally healthy self-esteem, they tend to have a pretty realistic understanding of their skills and abilities.
Realistic, not inflated.
Exactly. They usually enjoy healthy relationships, have balanced expectations for themselves and others. They can express their needs clearly, feel generally confident, have a positive outlook most of the time.
Okay.
They can say no when they need to, which is huge. They accept their strength and their weaknesses. They don't get stuck dwelling on negative stuff all the time. They tend to believe in equality, act independently, handle frustration reasonably well, and basically treat themselves with respect.
That paints a really good picture of a solid inner foundation.
Yeah.
What about the other side? What are some red flags? Things that might indicate low self-esteem?
Well, those with low self-esteem often believe others are better than they are. They might really struggle to express what they need or want. There's often an intense focus on flaws.
Picking themselves apart.
Yeah, exactly. Frequent feelings of fear, doubt, worry, anxiety, often a pessimistic outlook, a strong fear of failure. They might find it really hard to accept compliments.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, or have trouble saying no. There's often a lack of confidence, being very self-critical, maybe avoiding challenges altogether. Sometimes perfectionism comes into play.
Perfectionism as a sign of low self-esteem.
It often is, yeah. Low resilience, too, maybe neglecting self-care and just generally underestimating their own capabilities. Self-Sensei actually has a really useful table that breaks these signs down. Typical thoughts, feelings, behaviors, relationship patterns, coping mechanisms for both high and low self-esteem.
That sounds incredibly helpful. It's really eye-opening to see how many different ways low self-esteem can kind of manifest in our lives, from inside our heads to how we interact with the world. Okay, let's briefly touch on where this stuff even comes from. What are some of the roots of our self-worth?
It's complex, definitely a mix of things, but Self-Sensei points to some key influences. Early childhood experiences are really, really formative.
Our upbringing.
Yeah, especially the messages we got from caregivers. Things like feeling loved and accepted no matter what, that unconditional positive regard Carl Rogers talked about, that's crucial.
And native experiences, too.
Absolutely. Things like abuse, neglect, or bullying can have a huge negative impact. Then, of course, our life experiences as we go along, successes, failures, stressful events, they all shape it.
Makes sense.
And social factors are massive too. How we compare ourselves to others, especially now with social media,
Oh, yeah.
societal pressures like beauty standards, the feedback we get from people around us, experiences of discrimination, all of that feeds into it.
And different psychological theories try to explain how this all fits together.
Yeah, exactly. So you have humanistic psychology, think Maslow, Rogers. They emphasize our natural drive towards growth, self-actualization, feeling congruent, getting those basic needs met, including the need for esteem. Then there's social cognitive theory. Bandura's work on self-efficacy is key there. It highlights how our belief in our own abilities shapes our self-esteem. If you believe you can do things, your esteem often follows.
Right. I can leads to I am good.
In a way, yes. And then cognitive behavioral theory, CBT, focuses on that powerful link. Thoughts, feelings, behaviors. It suggests that those negative thought patterns we fall into can really undermine our self-esteem directly.
Got it. Okay, that gives us a really good understanding of the groundwork, the foundations. Now, for the part I think everyone's really waiting for,
Yeah.
the practical steps. Self-Sensei offers a whole toolkit for growth here. Let's start with how we can rewire our mindset. The first one is challenging negative self-talk.
Yes, this is classic CBT, and it's so powerful. It's about learning to first notice, then question, and finally change those automatic negative thoughts, the ones that just chip away at your self-worth.
It's not about just being positive all the time, though.
No, not at all. It's not about pretending everything's perfect. It's about developing a more realistic, balanced, and frankly, kinder way of talking to yourself. The process is often called catch it, check it, change it.
Catch it, check it, change it.
So first, you got to catch it. Become aware of those automatic negative thoughts when they pop up. Sometimes writing them down helps initially.
Okay.
Then check it. Question it. Like, what's the actual evidence for this thought? Is there evidence against it? Are there other ways to look at the situation? Is this thought actually helpful?
Be a detective for your own thoughts.
Exactly. And finally, change it. Try to rephrase the thought into something more balanced, more constructive, more realistic. Recognizing common thinking traps helps a lot too.
Thinking traps.
Yeah, cognitive distortions. Things like all or nothing thinking, only seeing the negative, jumping to conclusions, blaming yourself for everything. Spotting those patterns is a huge step.
Right. Spot the negative thought, investigate if it's true, and then rewrite the story more accurately. Okay, the next strategy builds on that, using positive self-talk and affirmations.
Yeah, this is about consciously choosing to speak to yourself in a supportive, kind, encouraging way, like you would talk to a friend you care about.
Okay.
Effective affirmations are usually positive statements, phrased in the present tense, like I am or I have. They should be personal to you, reasonably specific, and feel meaningful.
Not just generic stuff.
Right. And consistency is key. Repeating them daily, maybe saying them out loud, writing them down, visualizing them. It can gradually help reshape those underlying negative beliefs. Examples might be simple things like, I'm capable and resilient, or I deserve kindness. It's like reprogramming your inner radio station to play more supportive messages.
Like giving yourself the pep talk you need. And building on that kindness idea, the next strategy is cultivating self-compassion.
Exactly. This comes largely from Dr. Kristen Neff's work. Self-compassion is basically about treating yourself with the same kindness, care, and understanding you'd naturally offer a good friend who's struggling.
Okay, how does that work?
It has three main parts. First, self-kindness, being gentle and understanding with yourself rather than harshly critical. Second, common humanity, recognizing that suffering and imperfection are part of the shared human experience. Everyone struggles, you're not alone in it.
That's important.
It really is. And third, mindfulness, observing your difficult thoughts and feelings with balance, without ignoring them, but also without getting totally swept away by them.
So noticing the pain without judgment.
Precisely. You can try exercises like taking a self-compassion break when you're feeling really down, or consciously asking yourself, how would I treat a friend in this exact situation? It's about acknowledging we're all imperfect and being gentle with ourselves when we mess up or feel bad.
Recognizing your own humanity and giving yourself the same grace you'd give others, powerful. The last mindset strategy mentioned is practicing self-acceptance.
Yeah, and this links closely to compassion, but it's about fully embracing yourself, including all your perceived flaws and weaknesses, without judgment and without needing external validation.
Embracing the flaws, too.
Yes, it's understanding that having imperfections doesn't make you unworthy. It makes you human. It doesn't mean you stop growing or trying to improve,
Okay.
but it's about being fundamentally okay with who you are right now, in this moment. Things like maybe writing yourself a letter of acceptance or using mindfulness just to observe your thoughts without getting tangled up in judging them can help build this muscle. It's shifting from I'll be okay when I achieve X or fix Y to I am actually okay now, even with my imperfections.
It's a really profound shift.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving from mindset to action. The first action-oriented strategy is setting achievable goals using the SMART framework.
Yes, SMART goals. This is such a practical tool, setting goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
SMART. Got it.
It's a really effective way to build self-esteem because reaching goals, even small ones, gives you concrete evidence of your capabilities. It builds that sense of competence and confidence.
Little wins add up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Breaking bigger goals down into smaller, manageable steps is key. And celebrating your progress along the way, acknowledging those steps forward, no matter how small they seem, it gives you a roadmap and proof you're moving forward.
Setting yourself up for success and then recognizing it. Love it. The next action. Building competence by developing new skills.
Right. Actively learning new things or getting better at skills you already have is a direct route to boosting competence and therefore self-worth.
What kind of skills?
Honestly, it could be anything. Learning a language, taking a cooking class, mastering a piece of software, taking up pottery, volunteering, anything that stretches you a bit. The key is choosing something you're genuinely interested in so you enjoy the process. That feeling of accomplishment you get as you see yourself improving, that's a direct deposit into your self-esteem bank. It's that tangible, hey, I can do this feeling, backed up by real evidence.
Proving to yourself what you're capable of step by step.
Yeah.
Okay, the next action. Learning to be assertive. This feels like a big one for many people.
It really can be. Assertiveness is about expressing your needs, wants, feelings, beliefs in a way that's clear, direct, and respectful both to yourself and to others.
So not aggressive, not passive.
Exactly. It's that healthy middle ground, standing up for yourself without steamrolling anyone and without letting yourself be walked over. Techniques like using I statements.
Like I feel.
Yes, I feel frustrated when plans change last minute and I would appreciate more notice. Learning to say no clearly and kindly without excessive guilt or explanation. Even practicing assertive body language, making eye contact, standing tall.
Practicing saying no.
Yeah, sometimes you need to rehearse it. It's about recognizing that your needs and feelings are valid and important, and you have the right to express them respectfully.
Finding your voice and using it well. Okay, next action. Prioritizing self-care. Sounds simple, maybe, but often the first thing to go when life gets hectic.
Oh, absolutely. And it's so counterproductive when we let it slide. Self-care means intentionally doing things that support your physical, mental, and emotional well-being.
Like what specifically?
Well, the basics. Enough sleep, good nutrition, exercise. But also things like making time for hobbies you enjoy, practicing mindfulness or relaxation, spending time in nature, connecting with loved ones, and crucially, setting healthy boundaries to protect your time and energy.
Boundaries are self-care.
Definitely. Making self-care a priority sends a powerful subconscious message to yourself. I am worthy of care. My well-being matters. It's not selfish or indulgent. It's essential maintenance for a healthy self.
Fueling your own well-being.
Ah.
Makes sense. And the final action strategy listed is building your support system.
Yes, we don't build self-esteem in a vacuum. Positive relationships are so important. They provide that sense of belonging, validation, encouragement, all crucial for feeling good about yourself.
So nurture the good ones.
Exactly. Nurture the positive connections you already have. Maybe consciously step back from relationships that consistently drain you or put you down, and be open to seeking out new supportive people, friends, mentors, groups with shared interests.
Even professional help.
Absolutely. Therapists, counselors, support groups can be invaluable parts of a support system. It's about surrounding yourself with people who genuinely uplift you and reflect your value back to you.
Creating that network of people who have your back.
Yeah.
Okay, great action steps. Now, let's talk about shifting perspective. The first one here is stopping the comparison game. Oh boy, so relevant today.
Isn't it just? Constantly comparing ourselves to others, especially those curated highlight reels on social media, can be absolutely toxic for self-esteem.
Yeah, it's brutal.
It really is. It's vital to consciously remind yourself that everyone's journey is different. Focus on your path, your progress, your growth, not how you measure up against someone else's edited snapshot.
Easier said than done sometimes.
For sure. Limiting exposure to specific triggers, maybe unfollowing accounts that consistently make you feel bad, can help. And consciously remembering that what you see online is rarely the full, messy reality. A healthier comparison. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, last month, last year. Acknowledge how far you've come.
That's a great reframe. Focus on your own lane, your own progress. Okay, the final perspective shifting strategy. Practicing gratitude.
Yes. Intentionally focusing on and appreciating the good things in your life, big or small, can significantly shift your overall perspective towards positivity and boost feelings of self-worth.
How does that work?
Well, it trains your brain to notice the good, which can counteract our natural tendency to focus on the negative, the negativity bias. Keeping a gratitude journal is a popular method.
Writing things down.
Yeah, just jotting down a few things each day you're thankful for, or even just taking a few moments to mentally review them. It could be anything: a sunny day, a supportive friend, a skill you have, a comfortable bed.
Can you be grateful for things about yourself?
Absolutely. Gratitude directed inwards is powerful too. Appreciating your body for what it can do, acknowledging your strengths, recognizing your resilience. It actively cultivates a sense of enoughness and counteracts negative self-perceptions.
Actively looking for the good, inside and out. I like that. Okay, so we have this great toolkit of strategies, but let's be real. Putting them into practice isn't always easy. We hit roadblocks. What are some common ones and how do we navigate them? First up, perfectionism.
Perfectionism. It sounds good, maybe, but it's often a major barrier to healthy self-esteem. Those impossibly high standards, the harsh self-criticism when you inevitably fall short.
It's exhausting.
Totally. The key is to consciously work on setting more realistic expectations for yourself. Learning to acknowledge both successes and mistakes as valuable parts of the learning process. Practicing that self-compassion we talked about when you don't meet those sky-high standards.
So lowering the bar a bit.
Not necessarily lowering standards overall, but making them more human, more achievable. Focusing on progress, not perfection. Actively challenging those perfectionistic thoughts when they arise. Is this standard really necessary? Is it even possible? And remembering that mistakes are how we grow. It's about embracing the messy reality of learning, not demanding flawlessness from day one.
Giving yourself permission to be human, basically.
Right.
Okay, another big roadblock, the fear of failure.
Oh yeah, this one can be paralyzing. It often leads to avoiding challenges altogether, staying stuck in your comfort zone where you feel safe, but ultimately don't grow much.
So how do you tackle that fear?
A few things. Try to actively reframe failure. See it not as proof of inadequacy, but as essential data, a learning opportunity. What can you learn from this? Set those smart, achievable goals we discussed so you experience success more often. Practice self-compassion when things don't go as planned.
Be kind to yourself when you stumble.
Yes. Challenge the fearful thoughts. What's the worst that could realistically happen? Could I handle that? Build your resilience muscle. Focus on the effort you put in, not just the outcome. And maybe try gradual exposure, tackling slightly scary things step by step to build confidence that you can handle potential setbacks. It's about changing your relationship with failure.
Seeing missteps as feedback, not final judgments.
Got it.
Okay, the final roadblock we'll discuss is developing resilience to criticism, taking things too personally, or maybe the opposite, dismissing everything.
Right. How you react to criticism often reflects your underlying self-esteem. Low self-esteem can make you hypersensitive, taking any negative comment straight to heart. Or sometimes people build walls and dismiss all feedback, even helpful stuff.
So how do you find the balance?
Healthy self-esteem allows you to be open to constructive criticism without letting it define your worth. Some strategies. Try to depersonalize the feedback, focus on the behavior or the work, not on you as a person. Actively seek out feedback from people you trust to be constructive.
Okay.
Challenge your immediate internal reaction. Is it really about you, or is it maybe about the other person's perspective or needs? Practice assertiveness if the criticism feels unfair or is delivered unkindly.
Stand up for yourself respectfully.
Exactly. And crucially, work on grounding your sense of worth internally based on your values and efforts, rather than letting it be dictated solely by external opinions. And take a breath, respond thoughtfully rather than reacting emotionally in the moment. It's about evaluating feedback objectively, learning from what's useful, ditching what isn't without letting it rock your core sense of self.
That's a really useful skill. Okay, we've covered so much ground on how to build self-esteem. What does it take to make this healthy sense of self stick, to make it last for the long haul?
That's the million-dollar question, right? Building self-esteem isn't a one-and-done project. It's an ongoing journey, really. Long-term maintenance requires consistency.
Keep practicing.
Yeah, consistent effort and practice in using all these strategies we've talked about, challenging negative thoughts, self-compassion, setting goals, self-care, all of it. It also involves actively building resilience.
Bouncing back.
Right. Expecting that challenges will happen, practicing self-compassion when they do, adopting a growth mindset, believing you can learn and develop, forgiving yourself for mistakes, knowing and using your strength, leaning on your support system, and just getting better at recovering relatively quickly from disappointments. It's about making these practices ingrained habits and developing that inner strength.
Making it part of your routine, developing that inner toughness.
Exactly. And finally, I think it's about committing to lifelong growth and self-reflection.
Never stop learning about yourself.
Pretty much. Regularly checking in with yourself. How am I doing? What are my values now? Are my actions aligned? Being open to adjusting how you see yourself as you learn and evolve. Trusting the process, having patience with yourself. It's a continuous journey of learning and self-discovery. And healthy self-esteem is the solid ground you walk on.
That's a great way to think about it. Okay, so to just quickly recap some key takeaways from our deep dive today.
Well, I'd say number one, healthy self-esteem is absolutely fundamental for your mental health, your life outcomes, your relationships, your resilience. It touches everything.
Which is foundational.
And number two, it's not fixed.
Mm.
You can cultivate it through consistent effort. It involves that interplay of changing your mindset, taking deliberate actions, and shifting your perspective.
Okay, and for a concrete next step for you, the listener, listening right now.
Yeah. Maybe think about all the strategies we've discussed. Which one or two really jumped out at you, resonated the most? Maybe just make a small commitment to practice that one thing this week. Or perhaps take a few minutes later today to reflect on those signs of healthy and low self-esteem we talked about. Just notice, without judgment, what felt familiar.
Just one small step. Remember, investing in your self-esteem, it really is an investment in your overall well-being, your happiness, and your potential to live a much more fulfilling life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And maybe just a final thought to leave you with. Consider how shifting even just one of those deeply held negative beliefs you might have about yourself, how could that open up possibilities you haven't even considered yet? What small act of self-kindness, self-compassion will you commit to for yourself today?
Something to think about. Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with us today.